Let's get some insight on the team that has lost 8 in a row. Another season of just absolute, I don't want to say disgrace. Is that the right word, Jordan? I mean, this is a once proud organization that has just gone down the road year after year, it seems, of this team can't get it right. And I guess it's another team that it starts at the top.
Yeah, I mean, disgrace, that's harsh, but it probably describes it pretty well. I mean, it's been garbage here. Let's be honest. I mean, the results have been garbage. They've been terrible. I mean, we're not talking for just 1 year where – remember the Eagles that finished – I think Andy Reid's last year that finished 4-12. But everybody got injured. Or whatever that 1 year was. Well, I guess it wasn't his last year. 1 year where Donovan got injured and Westbrook got injured. Everyone got injured 1 year that finished 4-12.
The Mike McMahon year, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my God. I forgot about that.
Were you on the Eagle beat that year, Jordan?
I was.
Oh, man, you've seen some bad football over your time in Philly and now New York.
Oh, I don't get that sympathy.
But that's what it's not here. This isn't just like that 1 year, outlier that everything went wrong. Like, that was 2017 here, right? Okay? Everything went wrong. Ben McAdoo's, second year. First of all, by the way, first year, Ben McAdoo makes the playoffs, goes 11-5. Second year falls apart and is fired before the second year is even over. And then it's been a complete spiral since then. And that wasn't an outlier year. That was when everyone got injured. Odell got injured, broke his ankle. And then they lost Sterling Shepard, Brandon Marshall, a bunch of defensive guys. Janoris Jenkins was injured. Landon Collins was injured. They finished 3-13. But then what do? They follow that up with a 5-11, and they're lucky if they even get the 5 this year.
Yeah.
So you're talking about since the start of 2017, the single worst team in the NFL being the New York Giants. And think about this for a second. The Cleveland Browns have an 0-16 during that span. An 0-16. And the Giants have a worse record in that 3-year span.
Bizarre. So with that said, Daniel Jones not practicing. Eli most likely will play. All right, so you don't believe he'll play. So is this actually a detriment to Philly? I mean, they have owned Eli, but I think that most Eagle fans would have rather seen a rookie quarterback who's really struggling rather than a guy like Eli who's a veteran and can have one more game.
I guess so, but I mean, Daniel Jones wasn't really struggling. Daniel Jones has put together a lot of really good moments, a lot of really good stretches. Now, he also was very turnover prone. That was the downside. But he was also very capable of making plays, a lot of which, by the way, Eli Manning can't. So I think it's like a hit or miss. I think it's a sort of on even ground. The Giants aren't any better. The Giants aren't any worse. I mean, because you're talking about, this is an Eli Manning in his prime, right? This is Eli Manning at 38 years old. He can't move. And now you're putting him behind an offensive line that really has trouble protecting. So that's not exactly an ideal situation. So I think it's probably a wash. And can Eli have a good game? Sure he can. But did he have a good game? Very often in the last 10 times they played when the Giants are 1-9 against them? Not really.
Jordan, what is the perception from the Giants locker room of the Eagles offense and Carson Wentz from what they've seen so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, they still think – you talk to people across the league and they feel a lot of respect for Carson Wentz. I don't think that anybody in the Giants locker room is shaking over the weapons the Eagles have right now. But, look, they think Miles Sanders is a pretty good player. And the offense, while it may have struggled in recent weeks, I think they look at it as they're probably going to get a little healthier. They've been without some of these receivers. Ertz has been banged up and Jeffrey's been banged up. So I think they're expecting it to be an improved version sort of what they've seen on tape in some of these past few weeks. And look, the Eagles, they weren't bad offensively this past week, were they? I think that was one thing that people showed up against the Dolphins.
They weren't bad defensively? Is that what you're – offensively, no, they weren't.
Offensively. So I think when they look at that, they say, okay, we see what this team thinks. They're still dangerous offensively. That was sort of like, I think, a good reminder of the people inside the locker room. And look, the Giants defense haven't been able to stop anybody, right?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
This might be the least talented defense I've ever seen.
Jack Rabbit has been complaining about not traveling on the best receiver, and this is a situation where the Eagles literally only have one player who can make a play outside the numbers against the Giants, being Alshon Jeffrey, and even he isn't a speed threat. I want your opinion, not the coach's spin on this. Don't you think it would make sense for them to break from habit and just put Jack Rabbit on Alshon?
Well, here's the thing, okay? I mean,
I'd watch this Giants defense. The reason that they aren't able to do that is because they're basically playing all rookies around him, aside from Antoine Bethea. So they're going to have 4 basically rookies as defensive backs on the field this week, okay? They can't afford – they have breakdowns left and right. They've allowed the most 40-plus yard passes in the NFL this year, 14. And that's because these guys don't know what they're doing half the time. So the more complicated you make things, the more difficult it becomes. So to move a guy around, that's the reason they haven't really done it. Well, part of the reason, at least. The other part is, you know, that when Janoris Jenkins did follow guys around the field,
he got burned.
He followed around Mike Evans, and Mike Evans went for almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So there's that, but also the bigger picture, because Janoris Jenkins can still play a little bit. He's clearly the best player in that secondary. But if they do that, then Carson Wentz will just attack others. I mean, there's been times in the last few weeks where DeAndre Baker, a first-round pick, teams just go after him and just do whatever they want. Or Corey Ballantyne, who was a fifth-round pick, sixth-round pick this past year, teams just go after him and do whatever they want. I mean, that's the state of the Giants' defense right now. So even though you say, "Oh, there's no other threats," First of all, every tight end is a threat against the Giants' defense. It has been for years. That's been the case. They don't have a linebacker who could cover. So that's one way you could attack the Giants' defense. Or these other guys that, even though you think, okay, they haven't really done much. Well, Allen Lazard just had his first 100-yard game against this Giants defense also.
Jordan, the Eagles would kill to have Allen Lazard as their number 2 wide receiver right now. I can tell you that. They would kill. They'd kill to have Darius Slayton
as the number 1, not number 2.
Yeah, no, as the number 1.
Well, you'll see. Like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Did I pronounce his name right?
Yep, nailed it.
Arcega. Yeah, like he's going to go for like 80 yards.
Wow, that would be spectacular.
I know, and I know what he's done this year. He's been in with protection, but this is the state of the Giants' defense right now.
So is everyone else in Philadelphia. So, on the flip side of things, I mean, we talked a little bit about the Giants' offense, but from our side of the fence, which is typically negative, in case you didn't know how our side works here.
I'm very well aware.
Yeah, everyone's saying, "Well, this is just perfect that Eli's going to come back in. He's going to get his win against the Eagles and, ride off into the sunset." Is this like an adrenaline shot in the arm for the organization and the fans and the city that at least there's a new storyline here? Or is this just they're so garbage it doesn't matter?
I think we're in the latter of that. Like, they're just like, we're at the point here where fire everybody, get everybody out of here. We just want a whole new team. Enough of this already. I mean, there's a slight, the Eli fan base wants to see him play. It's nice to do a little bit. Maybe another game or probably 2, like we'll get a home game, at least they can kind of send him off in a way. Because he's done a lot of good things for this organization, obviously. He has 2 Super Bowl rings. He brought them. But I think at this point that's a small minority of just the real Eli Manning diehards trying to get something out of it. But in general, it's we are fed up with this team. We're fed up with the organization. We want everyone fired. The ownership is terrible. Everybody's terrible. We need a whole new overhaul here. It's hard to even watch at this point. I think that's more likely where they're at. I mean, last week against the Packers, the stadium, like they always sell out, obviously, right? But that doesn't mean the stadium is full. And the stadium was filled with a really solid amount of Packer fans, especially late in that game. So it's basically just Packer fans sitting there yelling, "Go, Pack, go," in the second half of a home game at, I almost called the Giants Stadium, but MetLife Stadium. So, that's the state of the Giants right now.
So what are how probable is it that Shurmur's gone?
I think it's likely that he's gone, at this point. I mean, this organization is not headed in the right direction. There's reasons to be concerned. There's been enough to see on the field, the adjustments and that stuff, and really the fan base really gets to the point where when the fan base has enough, and they can't justify it to their fan base anymore, that's when teams fire coaches, and that just feels like where we are. And you hear all the rumblings behind the scenes about people and ownership not being happy. So everyone's kind of in jeopardy right now, and I think that includes Pat, and that also includes General Manager Dave Gettleman, because they took over a team that was going to pick second in the draft 2 years ago, right? And now 2 years later, their roster's even worse, and right now, if the season ended, they'd be picking second in the draft again,
which is wild.
So where's the progress? It wasn't that hard to move up.
Yeah, you see so many teams turn over and go from 5-11 to 10-6, like almost in a year or two, and the Giants are sitting on the treadmill of 3-13 year after year. There's something not right there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, when that happens, where do you start looking? You really start looking at the top.
So Jason Garrett or Ron Rivera, the new coach there? Jason Garrett or Ron Rivera? Who's the new coach there?
Matt Rule.
Oh, God. Yeah, Matt Rule. Jason Garrett and Ron Rivera there would just be like, oh, my God, we're really – they're not learning from their mistakes, right? We're really going to go back down this road. Ron Rivera doesn't believe in analytics. You know that?
Well,
he would be the most popular coach in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he would kind of fit in here, but I've been saying this a lot the last couple of years, and it really holds true. Like you can't even use like total logic nowadays here. Like anything could happen around here. Like anything is capable of happening with the way that they've operated and some of the moves that they've made. Now the only thing that they have done, and it looks like it's the right move, and it looks like it's going to be a positive, and it does set them up for the future, is they have put a young rookie quarterback in place who has shown enough flashes where you're optimistic that he can be the quarterback of the future. So that is the only positive really going on here with the Giants at this point.
Well, Jordan, we know, of course, covers the Giants, but you've seen both Philly and Dallas. So who is your pick to win the NFC East?
Man, yeah, that is a tough one. I was gonna probably go with the Cowboys, but you keep watching them each week lose. It's kind of hard at this point to go with the Cowboys, and I thought it was going to happen last week, and now I'm thinking it again. It's like the Eagles should be able to get right a little bit, right, with their schedule. Right, they have the Giants twice more here. I mean, this is a 2-10 team, and you thought the same with the Dolphins last week. So I still think I'm leaning towards the Eagles. But, of course, it's going to come down to whoever wins that game between those two teams. And the last time they played, the Cowboys actually beat the heck out of them.
Yeah, they owned them.
But everyone's been waiting for that game from the Cowboys ever since. They haven't been able to put it together.
Jordan Raanan.
I think something's really wrong down there.
Yeah, you think?
Really wrong down there,
ESPN NFL Nation covers the Giants, a man of the people, at Jordan Raanan, Raanan. Of course, he was kind enough to join us on the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Take care, bud.
You got it, guys. See you soon.